Monsieur Trichet, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to pickingalpha.com. And our first question is, European Union and Canada are developing close ties together. What would you say about banking differences, banking system differences and similarities?
Well, first of all, everybody has to recognize that the Canadian banks resisted the crisis admirably well, and that it is even more to be noted when you consider that Canada is very close to the United States of America, which had the epicenter of the crisis with the subprime and with Lehman Brothers. So it tells a lot on the wisdom of the management of the banks, and also, I would say, on the wisdom of the surveillance authorities and my friends in Canada that had this responsibility. So I noted that in all our negotiations and discussion, how to reform the prudentials at the global level and how to make sure that the system, the financial system, would be much more resilient, much more solid. Clearly, Canada was a role model.
Thank you very much. My next question would be about the crises that one just almost over, and there's a lot of talk about upcoming housing crisis in China. How do you see that possible crisis affect European Union and agriculture in particular?
Well, first of all, I would say that we have to learn to live in a world where you have, of course, adjustment to be made permanently here and there. It's a global village. When the emerging countries are behaving extremely properly, then the advanced economy have problems. It is what we just experienced since 07-08. At certain other moment, it is the emerging part of the emerging world which has again difficulty. We will see. I mean, again, what is important is that everybody, every part of the world, every segment of the global economy is adjusting permanently, because everything is changing. In the present global economy, we have new technologies that are absolutely galloping, science and technology. We have, of course, the globalization itself, which is a dramatic sea change at the global level. And we have also, I think it's very important to the aging of population, which is not only a phenomenon of the advanced economy, but also of some emerging economies. China is a case in point. So all this calls for adapting, for moving, for transforming, for accepting structural changes on a permanent basis. It's not easy, and it's one of the reasons why in all our democracies the people is not necessarily very content, very satisfied. We see that in the polls, in the survey, in the Tea Party here, in the anti-European move in the UK, in the Euro problems or the Euro area problems and so forth. So everywhere you have that. I don't know whether you have such a phenomenon in Canada. Canada seems to be a very happy country. It has to be checked.
Well, we are happy people, of course, but we have some economical problems as well, and we have high unemployment rate sometimes. And if you don't mind, one more question. In your speech in Asia last year, you mentioned that there is a need for Europe to regain its competitiveness. Which industries and sectors of economy do you see will be the drivers of regain of the European competitiveness? Would agriculture be one of them?
First of all, I think that we have two issues when we speak of European competitiveness. One issue is the competitiveness that has to be regained by countries that lost their own relative competitiveness within the euro area. The countries that have been under stress, the 5 countries say that have been under stress, were all lacking cost competitiveness inside the euro area. And that's the reason why they were particularly vulnerable and why they have been more or less considered unstable and, I would say, vulnerable by market participants, investors, and global savers. That's a problem, and it is being corrected. Adjustment is taking place in these countries in a way which is encouraging, but it's still hard work to be done. On the other hand, you have the European continent as a whole,
Yes.
the euro area as a whole, and of course the UK too, and Sweden, and so forth. And there it seems to me that the main problem we have are structural reforms in order to have economies that would be as flexible as possible, adapting to the new technologies, the new markets as rapidly as possible, with appropriate innovation and creativity and plugging of the universities and excellence university to the, I would say, production sphere. There we are late on the US. I think it's absolutely obvious that innovation, creativity, flexibility of the economy, and the plugging of excellent universities with the productive sector is much better in the US, which doesn't mean that the US is better on all dimensions. For instance, macro policies are not very good in the US. The US is permanently in current account deficit and will probably continue to be permanently in current account deficit even with the shale gas, which is not the way Europe is operating. So Europe might be a little bit better in macro policies, at least more sustainable in the long run, but Europe has a lot of hard work to be done to restructure itself and be as flexible as the US are.
Well, thank you very
Thank you.
much for your time.